You're listening to the Practical Wealth Show with Curtis May, putting you in the driver's seat to control your finances. Let's start the Practical Wealth Talk about alternatives to Wall Street.
All right, this is Curtis May, Practical Wealth Radio. We're back and want to do another short podcast, and we're going to call this one Defining Moments in Your Decision-Making Process. As you know, we consider myself a financial educator, and I'm part of a group of professionals across the nation that is deeply concerned about the direction we're heading and the impact it's going to have on our everyday life. So through this podcast, what I'd like to do is discuss an educational process that in most cases will increase your money supply, create more and better benefits, and reduce the elements of risk you face in the marketplace and ever increasing taxation. And so, I always tell people, look, how can you say yes or no to ideas you don't even know exist? And so we're going to talk about in this short podcast what we're going to call it defining moments, because what I found out there as I'm working with clients is that the vast majority of people are troubled and confused about the economy. They have been bombarded by media, bullied by salespeople, and bewildered by the millions of things they feel they need to know. And over the past several years, they've seen all of the lessons they've learned fail them, And so how can you get by on 1% and 2% rates of return? And so I'm finding that people are scared to make hesitant to make, crucial decisions necessary to survive in today's financial jungle. And there are about 90 million Americans are in the same boat. And so what we're going to do in this podcast, I want to kind of make you aware of those things and analyze these challenges carefully so that you'll have a clearer view and you'll be able to make better life decisions. One of the things a mentor told me a long time ago, if you know what's going on, you'll know what to do. And so one of the missions of this podcast and one of my reasons for doing it is to kind of, let you know what's going on. What I always say, most people don't get financial education, they get financial training, they get financial indoctrination, and the indoctrination basically says, give your money to us, right? Because you're not smart enough, you don't have the temperament or the training to personally, to control your own money. And we don't think that's true. So, it's time to talk. So let's talk about a defining moment in your decision-making process. So there needs to be a frank discussion about traditional financial thinking. Your mind is really like a computer, and information is programmed into that computer, and it's like garbage in, garbage out. So it impacts that computer's results. But if the information that is programmed into it is flawed from the very beginning, how will the results be? How accurate can the results be? In traditional financial thinking, or what we call typical in the prosperity economics movement, you were told what to think, but not how to think. Distrust, and disappearing dreams. You need to develop an understanding and discover a new thought process to survive today's economic challenges. So there are two defining moments that are very important in your decision-making process. Here's the first one. Think about this. Your money will never be worth more than it is today. See, at 2 or 3% inflation, $1,000 a day will have the buying power of $411 30 years from now, okay? And so that means if you have 100,000, right, just do the math, okay? And so what happens is we're not taking account that your things that you see in your account or those greenbacks you hold in your hand, the longer you hold them, the less valuable or less purchasing power they have. Here's the second defining moment. The current tax bracket you're in now may be the lowest tax bracket you'll ever be in for the rest of your life. Think about that for a second. See, most people or tell you that, well, when you retire, you're going to be in a lower tax bracket. Well, why is that? Taxes don't go down because you turn 65. If your taxes go down, only reason that happens is because you're poor, right? And so you're paying for somebody to tell you that you're going to be poor. And, I don't think that's what you want to do. All right. And see, so think about this. Due to a declining workforce and aging population, people are living longer, and they're living longer and more are going on government programs. Okay. You've got unsustainable government debt. You've got uncontrollable government spending. Your taxes more than likely will, so just think about all that stuff. And you look at me in a straight face and tell me you think tax will go down. Most likely will continue to increase far into the future. So let's combine these two defining moments. One, your money will never be worth more than it is today. And two, the current tax bracket you're in now may be the lowest tax bracket you'll be in for the rest of your life. So now when you look at that, why is traditional thinking and everything you see on TV and all the financial entertainers telling you to take as many of today's dollars as you can and throw them into the future as far as you can into the future, right? Where it will have less buying power and be taxed the most. See, how long do you want to do that? See, at some point, you're going to have to decide what you want to do. Think about this, folks. How can you say yes or no to ideas you don't even know exist? See, there are options and opportunities that are available to you that you don't even know exist. And so you want to talk about that. So we're going to bring out that. We're going to bring examples. I want to bring people in front of you. Because see, here's the thing. Knowledge is something that you learn. But see, my goal is to give you wisdom. Wisdom is the ability to apply that knowledge to your everyday life. Okay? Because, the whole idea is that you have to, one of the goals is that you've got to be able to have the knowledge to, or have a thought process so that you can, what I call, separate facts from somebody's sales pitch. And so there are principles that govern, the rules of handling your money. And so it has nothing to do with markets or anything like that. And so the goal is to have, so one of my favorite books, and so I suggest you go out and get this one, is The Richest Man in Babylon. You can email me at kurtmay@gmail.com. I'll send you a copy with a video I have that goes along with that, going over the 7 cures for a lean purse. So 7 cures. So in today's terminology, it would be 7 cures for an empty bank account. So if your bank account is not where it is, are you following the 7 rules and the 7 cures for a lean purse? So let's talk about that. So what are they? The first chapter in the book is part of all you earn is yours to keep. And I've said before, there's only 4 things you can do with $1 when you get it: spend it, save it, invest, or give it away. So you have to make a decision that I've got to, it's a decision. I'm not saying it's an easy decision, but savings is an expense. And so if you don't put it there, it's not going to get there. See, one of the things that at Practical Wealth, we give people what we call an operating system when it comes to their money. Because the game is won and lost at cash flow. Most wealth is lost by how people manage or really don't manage cash flow. And so you don't really need to budget as much as you need to, okay, look, money's coming in, and you've got to kind of direct that money where you need it to go and forecast it, but and taking 10 to 20% off the top and dealing with the rest of it. In the book, and some people call this perpetual wealth code, it's 10% to savings. If you're in debt, 20% to debt elimination, and 70% to lifestyle. And so you're going to have to pay attention to it. But see, the key is not to focus on scarcity, which is, I got to stop going to, wherever, Starbucks, and I can't go on vacation. And, who wants to live like that? See, you want to focus on abundance. You don't want to shrink. You can't shrink your way to financial independence. You have to focus on how can I create even more success? How can I, if you're in business, create more revenue? How can I improve my marketing? If you have a job, folks, it is not even optional. You must have a business because if you're one of the top five transfers, right? What do most people do? Most people don't manage cash flow, and then most people give most of your money away, right? So with the top five transfers, how you pay your mortgage, taxes, how you fund your retirement plans, how you pay for kids' education, and how you pay for major capital purchase. See, there's more opportunity in becoming more efficient and minimizing the losses in your life than you'll ever make trying to pick winning investments. So you have to focus on efficiency first, right? And so you've got to see yourself as, savings is an expense. Part of all you earn is yours to keep. Budget your expenses or manage your cash flow. You've got to make your goal multiply. See, for most people, saving is just delayed spending. They save it and then, something comes up and they spend it and they spend their whole life starting over. Save, 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 take it out. I call it a put and take account. So, we teach something called the private reserve strategy where you want to be able to be the wealth creator so that you still want to have your money where you have access to utilizing it, but you can use it, be an honest banker, pay yourself back. And so what happens is you've got to, because see, when you want to have capital, you need to have liquidity so that you have to employ your capital. There's a saying, save, wages make you a living, profits make you a fortune. So you need to learn, so Curtis didn't say go out there and quit your job. What you have to do is you've got to earn your living by day, and you've got to work on your profits at night and on the weekends. You want to be able to make up your home a profitable investment. Now, I'm a kind of a rich dad guy, so I think an asset is something that puts money in your pocket. So, but I think that you should have a house. And so I'm not saying it's bad to own a house or own a big house. It just, you got to understand it is an asset. It's just the bank's asset because it's a difference between a house and a home, right? The house is the numbers and the finances. And so you need to look at that and how you buy it and looking at your equity and that kind of stuff. The home is the experiences that you have and raising your family and the memories that. So you have to separate those two. And so, when a lot of times we talk about the house, you need to be analytical and really analyze the numbers. And we're not talking about the home. I have to always help people separate that out. And, you want to be able to guard your treasure from loss. You've got to play defense. You want to be able to ensure future income. So while you are working, you got to put money aside so that you buy assets so that either when you can't work or don't want to work, you've built enough assets so you can live off the income from your personally invested assets, which is, we call financial independence, to borrow Jim Rohn's definition, my favorite definition. And then step 7 is, and we're going to create a whole module in this, you've got to increase your ability to earn. And so how do you do that? Well, how do you make more money? I was talking to some kids about this last week, and money follows value. So you have to look for ways to be of service. You have to sell something. You've got to create value in the marketplace. You've got to learn to be a go-giver, to quote Bob Bird's book. And so you've got to look for problems that you can solve. What is your skill sets? What are your unique abilities? And how can you go out there and create value in the marketplace? What is it that comes easy to you that other people find hard? It could be a mechanic. What unique knowledge that you have. Dennis Kimbrough says in Success Secrets of African American Millionaires, a book I'm rereading now for the third time, is that knowledge is the new money. And, you need to be, when Think and Grow Rich, you got to have specialized knowledge, and we're taught to be general, but you've got to know something. See, because if everybody can do what you know how to do, you can't make a lot of money because you're a commodity. You have to have specialized knowledge in an area in demand where somebody is willing to write you a check for that. Anyway, so I wanted to keep this short today. If reach out to us at Practical Wealth Radio. Let us know any comments you have, any topics that you want to discuss. If you'd like to have a strategy session, we can talk to you about what we call the Money for Life formula, which is based on my favorite book on the You Be the Bank strategy that we teach by Jeffrey Reeves, and who hopefully will have shortly as a guest on our podcast. But until that time, folks, much success, and we'll see you at the top.
Thanks for listening to Practical Wealth. To access the show notes and resources, go to practicalwealthshow.com. To get your questions on the show, go to practicalwealthshow.com. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Before you make any investment decisions, consult a professional. This show is copyrighted by Practical Wealth. Written permission must be granted before syndication or rebroadcasting.